Welcome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connect Ed. We are so excited to be with you here tonight. We have some wonderful tips and tools that we're going to be sharing with you tonight about testing. But before we get started, I'm going to allow everyone to introduce yourselves. And as always, we are connected. Our mission is to bridge the gap between us, the people, our schools, and our communities. We know that there's a huge gap and information doesn't always get disseminated as it needs to. And so we are the call to action to make sure that parents get the information that they need. And so tonight, I am Marie Hall, the founder and creative behind Connected. And I'm just grateful to be here with you tonight. And I'm going to allow the ladies to introduce themselves.
Good evening. Good evening. How's everyone tonight? I'm Portia Jackson Vega, and I'm an educator. And I'm so glad to be here. It's test time. Keep calm. It's only a test.
Yes. And good evening, everyone. I am Courtney Gaines, also an educator of over 20 years. And as a lot of people think and feel, this is my season. This is it. Let's get our kids ready to go and do their absolute best.
Right, this is it. We're just missing one of our wonderful people tonight, Charlotte. Hopefully she's gonna pop on with us, but if not, we're going to roll on and do a good job in her absence. So tonight, you know that we're talking about testing. Listen, warning, this is only a test. This is only a test. We get so anxious, and I don't know about you, but I sometimes am not a good test taker. And so we get anxious, we get scared, we get nervous, we go blank. And tonight, the ladies and I, we're going to try to give you some tips and tools to help your children, or even help you stay calm during testing. This is testing season for us in the school systems. We're getting ready for milestones. If you live in another state, you may be getting ready for the Iowa basic test or another state test, or PSAT or SAT, whatever kind of test you're taking. And so tonight, ladies, let's give them some great gems and that we can drop in their spirits that they can use.
Okay.
Well, let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I don't know. I agree wholeheartedly with Marie. When I was younger, I was not always the best standardized test taker. And now growing up and then learning more about test anxiety and performance anxiety, I discovered that's what was going on with me. I didn't, of course, know as a kid. And I believe it or not, I have a slight perfectionism kind of, side to me. So I was really afraid to speak up and say, I'm really nervous about this test because everyone around me, all the adults around me, were expecting me to just do great on it. There wasn't any hesitation from their point of view that I wouldn't do great. But I also noticed that I would not always do as great as I was expecting or even what they were expecting. Even when taking the SAT, I had a decent score. It was definitely enough to get me into a good college. However, I wanted to break that 1,000 mark and I just couldn't get there. I was test prep and everything, and it just still didn't happen. But come to find out, it was because of the anxiety that I was having.
Yeah. Yeah. I experienced the same thing, growing up. But I think it was just all of the excitement around it. And I wouldn't say it was good excitement either. And that made me nervous. Just, you got to do well. Let's pray. Let's this last crunch time, everybody lock in and let's try to get as much information. But really, it starts day one of school. It starts on day one. And the more you stay locked in from day one, the more you're prepared.
Mhm.
And that would have helped me, I think, along the way, and it would have given me more confidence when it was time to take the test.
Yes,
Absolutely.
awesome.
Mhm.
Charlotte, welcome, honey. We glad you made it.
Yeah.
You wanna introduce yourself?
Mm.
We can't
I
hear
can't
you.
hear you.
Well, we can't hear Charlotte. She having a little technical difficulty, which is normal when you're going live. So we're gonna let her work on that, and we're gonna keep on going. So as you guys were talking, I was thinking about, so much emphasis is put on testing and the importance of testing. And I remember when I was growing up, and my experience is a little different. My mother never press me to do well on a test. She never
Mhm.
stressed, you got a test coming, you better do well, you better get an A, you better get a high score. And I think in, not putting all that pressure on me kind of helped me when I was a child growing up. It wasn't until I became an adult in college taking exams, and
Yeah.
then I started getting all this anxiety, all this stress, all this worry, because now, if you don't pass, if you don't take the test and you don't pass the course, or you can't get your certifications. Y'all know as
Mhm.
educators, we got to take a test for everything.
Everything.
So if you don't pass, and listen, y'all, we have to pay money for that.
Right.
So if we don't pass, we have to keep paying money in order to pass. So I
Mhm.
just want to say, and I look at our students that come worried, come stressed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they have high anxiety,
Yes.
and so that bothers me.
Mhm.
So what do y'all have to say about that? And what strategies, what suggestions can you give? Before you go, let me make sure we can hear Charlotte. Charlotte, can you say something?
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Still can't
We
hear.
don't hear you. All right, well, we're gonna keep rolling along here. You might have to go back out and come back in, Charlotte. I'm not sure.
Well, one thing growing up, and it's something I still do to this day, we always laid out our clothes the night before.
Yes.
You
Ah, mm.
everything, and I to this day I have my school clothes and I have my play clothes.
Yeah.
And you don't play in your school
School
clothes.
closed.
So you prep everything at night, and and you go to bed early, of course, and they tell us to eat a good breakfast, but these things got to be rituals and routine. It just can't be the week before, or a few days before.
Yes.
And eat a healthy breakfast, and
Mhm.
listen to instructions, and but lock in. But these things has to happen again day one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Portia. I think that having routines and rituals in place help to ease that anxiety so that we're not saying that this is really a big deal. This is a normal, good school day. We want to give our very best anyway. So let's start off being prepared. I always see kind of squelching and preparing for tests, squelching test anxiety and preparing for tests in like a three-phase kind of thing:
Mm-hmm.
before the test, during, and after, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I always give the suggestion to kids that before, do what you're supposed to do every day. Listen to the teacher, learn the material and the concepts. You don't understand, ask questions, because you're going to see this again, right? So that's
Mhm.
definitely the before. Um, a healthy breakfast. I always tell them the importance behind it. So that's something else that I've read too, that is very important for us to get kids to buy in to our testing strategies. And the way to do that is definitely to explain to them why. Give
Mm-hmm.
them the rationale on why this is important. So when we say have a healthy breakfast, not your Takis and
Mhm.
Cheetos and candy. Well, why? Because those sugars that are in those unhealthy foods are going to have you up and going for a little while, but then you're going to crash. your brain needs to have sustained energy, which comes from protein. So we talk about that a little bit. What are
Yeah.
some foods that have protein and whatnot? So that helps them buy into the idea of having a healthy breakfast and saying, hey, mom, I'm going to need, a good cereal, or I'm going to need eggs in the morning, just something that will give them sustenance. Now, my granddaddy would tell you grits. Stick to your ribs. That's always a good thing, right? So
Love
have
grits.
some grits, right? So, but just the science behind the why behind some of the testing strategies that we have, and then during the test, this is so important. Helping kids understand, take their time to read. So what's really cool, and now that they've changed, I know with our particular high state testing, is that there's no maximum or minimum time, right?
Right.
So we need to stress as much as we can to these kids. Take your time to read what
Yeah.
the instructions are telling you. Take your time to read what the question is, what the responses and choices are. Those that sound quacky and wacky from the jump, you can scratch those out. And parents, I need y'all to know too, even though that this test is being given on the computer, they are given tools to use, like a highlighter,
Yes.
like a scratch out,
Right.
eliminator kind of tool. So they can visually be able to knock those choices out and then figure things out from that point. The trick
But
I used to do, read the questions, then go back to the passage.
Yeah.
So I'll know
Oh.
exactly what I
that's
need
not
to
no
look for.
trick. That's a real strategy.
Yes, it is.
And you said something key right there, the process of elimination. So they do have it where you can cross out. You get to practice those things before you even start the test. The students get to practice these things, highlighting, learning how to scroll through the text, so that they'll know how to get back to the text, going from page to page.
Yep.
But you said something really key, Courtney, when you talked about eating a healthy breakfast, because a lot of times our kids don't eat breakfast in the morning. And when you don't eat, then you're tired.
Yes.
You don't have the stamina to go a lengthy time, and the test is almost 3 hours max if you're going to use up all your time. And so you want to make sure that you have a good night's rest. You're going to bed early. A lot of time our kids are coming to school tired, and they're going to sleep during the test, and we need to make sure that we're helping our students to get to bed early, especially on those weeks of testing, and that they're testing daily, so you want them to go to bed early. And so you gotta be mindful of that, parents, that you're letting your kids go to bed early. I like the fact that Portia said she had her school clothes laid out the night before. I don't do that, but
Still do.
I don't do that, honey. I don't even know what
that.
I'm wearing the next day. But that's a great point that you made. And then taking your time to read. I feel like, and this is not even on the state test, just in general, students rush through when they are taking a test, and they don't take it as seriously as they should, so that they can get a good score and they can show people what they know. Show what they know.
Yes.
Parents, take those phones.
Please.
And ensure that your child has a good night's sleep. Do that. Like, and it's not, and we're saying do it now. I mean, it's time for the test, but moving forward at the start of next year, you get in a ritual and a routine that you take that phone every evening. I don't know if you're going to allow them an hour or 2 hours after they do the homework or whatever, but those phones need to be taken so that your child can be fresh, alert, and ready to learn each day.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it Sunday night, you can take that phone and for the rest of that duration of the testing period, so that they will be fresh every day. One thing, another strategy that I taught my students is to, when you're reading a question, like I teach Georgia Studies, what is the question asking you?
Mm-hmm.
And right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
my students can circle, because we can highlight now, or you can circle it, and that helps you get to the right answer. Because if it's asking you, for example, who founded Georgia, you're not gonna circle Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
We can eliminate Abe Lincoln.
Now that's
Right.
process of elimination right there.
Right. But if you understand what the question is asking you, then that helps you to get to the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been very helpful this year in my class. Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, can you say anything? Can you hear us?
No, we can't hear you. Okay.
We cannot hear nothing you're saying. It's something you gotta click when you log on to check your your audio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you go out, check your audio so that you can test it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another thing about looking at the questions too, ladies, it's going to be important for them to be able to, if they can, kind of scan through some of the questions. I know that could be a little difficult sometimes on the computer, but when a question is difficult, don't labor too long there. Move on so you can have them go to easier questions. Because when you get those easier questions, it gives you more confidence, right? So you're like, yes, I got it, I know it. And then what's great about the way our state testing does online is that it will let them know at the end the ones that they skipped or didn't answer.
Yes.
So you get the opportunity to go back.
Yeah.
So you can see, oh yeah, I need to go back to this one and see what I need to do and answer for those particular ones. But we definitely want to have them move to those easier ones, or things that come really more natural to them, and they get it a lot quicker, because those celebrations are important. Those little wins are important.
Yes, they are.
I like the fact that you said scan through, because that is a great strategy. You can either look at the questions first. This is a different strategy, looking at the questions first and then trying to go find the answer in the passage. Right. Versus reading the passage and then trying to find the answers. You can actually look at the questions first and then go to the passage and try to find the answers. And because you're able to highlight, hey, you got it made, you can highlight important things in the text and then check it against the answer choices. So that's a great thing to do, especially because that reading can get very heavy.
Yes.
And you can get very tired quickly when it comes to reading. So you really, throughout the school year, I think Portia said this, you gotta, or Courtney, you may have said this, you gotta really be building up your stamina so that you can make it through the test. And hopefully when you're taking your universal screeners or any other kind of exams, you're building up that wherewithal so you can make it for the state test. Because if you're not building and leading up to that, you're going to run out of gas when it's time to take that state test, because of the heaviness of the test and the amount of questions that are on the test.
Yeah.
That's right.
And even when you get to these tough questions that you got to go back to, don't overthink it. Train your mind to say, I'm going to attack it. It's not going to attack me and give me anxiety. And that will help you have more confidence in a question that you don't really understand or know. I think you have a better chance of getting to the right answer.
I agree. That's right, Simone. Read the questions first. That's right.
Yes, read the questions
Thank
first.
you.
I think another thing is that parents on testing day, please don't antagonize your children.
Please
don't make them upset the morning of the test, and then they come in angry, upset, and now they're not able to concentrate or focus because something has happened at home. They got in trouble before coming to school, because it trickles over into school and it causes them to not even want to take the test and shut down. And so they may start clicking anything during the test because they just have just tuned it out. They don't want to be bothered and they just want to get it over with. So it's really important that you communicate with the teachers the morning of. You're letting them know what's going on with the child so that the teacher can have that pep talk or whatever. This counselor can have the talk, so that they're ready to go and they're encouraged to do well on the test.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, Marie. I had a little baby come in this morning completely upset. We spoke, briefly about what was going on. Something did happen at home, but then it ended up manifesting itself again later on in the day. And so, valid point. Please try our best not to stress our kids out or to have them upset when they're coming in the morning of testing. And testing lasts for a few days, parents. So keep that in mind too. Also, speaking of school, coming in the morning, please make sure that your child is on time.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
Because if I already have test anxiety, knowing that I'm late, then I cannot get into the testing session and having to do a makeup test, which is going to be done in a whole different group, not my, normal group of friends or not my homeroom or anything like that. And I have to be with other kids. That is even more stressful. So having them come on time is so key and important each of those days.
And just like holding that argument,
Keep me out like that.
Then encourage your child that each morning you're going to do great. I believe in you. You got this. Let's reinforce our children with some positive input, some kind words, some encouraging words, some impactful words, so that they can really go into that test with the maximum confidence possible. I think that's very important.
So key. I love that, Portia, that you said that, because honestly, the biggest thing about attacking test anxiety is the mindset. So a lot of times kids are already going in feeling somewhat defeated, especially if I'm a reader that struggles. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of writing on that test. Or I used to be not that great in math. That was just a mindset, honestly, that I had adopted. Unfortunately, you go in already feeling that way. So if you're speaking life and affirming your child, then they are definitely going to increase that confidence that they need to be and to do their absolute best. Also, stress that you're not looking for perfection. None of us are perfect.
That's right.
None of us are perfect. We don't need our kids, thinking that I have to really ace this and get everything correct. I'm just asking you to put forth your absolute best. That is it. And your best is good enough and well enough for me, So we're not striving for perfection. Tell them it is okay. It's okay to be nervous. It is okay not to understand and know everything on it, but just give it what you can.
I like that, because you really have to keep the testing in perspective. Just as you were saying, you don't want to overwhelm your child in thinking that they just have to get this perfect score or they have to do a certain level, because the test is not scored in that way. And so you have to keep testing in perspective. Yes, you want them to do well, and you can just tell them to do the best that they can.
Yes.
Because a lot of times there are questions that are on exams that students may not know. And so those questions, they may need to take an educated guess. Now, you got to be able to kind of infer things by reading the question, reading around the question, picking out keywords or phrases, and it will kind of help you when you're taking that educated guess. So you're not just guessing, oh, I'm just, because some people have a system now. I used to have a system. If I didn't know answers, I would choose all B, or I would choose all C, or I would already have a system in place. I'm choosing all A's, I'm choosing all B's, I'm choosing, but then you learn along the way, hey, I can use inferencing. I can use these different strategies that my teacher has been teaching me all school year long to help me if I got to take an educated guess and I'm just unsure.
Right. And you know what else happens, y'all? Sometimes looking at the other questions and answer choices that they give helps you to be able to answer something that you didn't really know before, or you were able to find a better educated guess choice, so that's another strategy that they can use as well.
It's the title of our show, Keep Calm. This is only a test. This is another experience.
Yes.
Just to show, what you've learned throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an experience to help you with the next experience, the next year. And
Correct.
you're gonna know what you did well. You're gonna know what your strengths were, meaning, and you're gonna know what your deficits are. And going forward, if you're paying attention, you're gonna improve on those deficits, and you're gonna get better and better each time. So we don't need to stress about this. We're just gonna go in. We've learned the information, or we've learned some of the information, most of the information, whatever it is. It's going to show on this exam.
Yeah.
We can take these lessons and we can and strengthen ourselves, make sure we get our rituals and routines in place for the next year, and we're going to be better because of it.
Absolutely. Hey, Sharon. All right, Charlotte, what you got? We cannot hear you.
And I so need to hear Charlotte's voice because since she works with our students that have learning challenges, she could probably offer a wealth
to have a voice. Yes. Drop it in the chat, Charlotte, till we can get you till you can get together. Drop whatever you want to say in the chat, and I'll post it across the screen because yes, she works with our students. With disabilities. Listen, parents, we want you to know that it is not taboo. This has nothing to do with testing, but it does.
It does.
It's not taboo. It's not taboo. It's not a label. That's another show, though. It's not taboo. When students need support, it's okay. And sometimes we all need support in some sort of way. And so it's okay for them to need those supports. I think it's a great thing when they do have those supports because it gives them an equal playing field and it shows equity across the board that they are still getting educated and they have the ability to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, Marie. Yeah. And honestly, the earlier that those needs are identified, the better, because then the supports are in place. They are also given the opportunity to have more coping skills, some strategies that they can use so that at some point they can exit from those programs and still be able to be successful. Later on in their educational career. And now, honestly, it's so amazing that a lot of our higher ed institutions are now putting in place more accommodations than they have ever before. So if your students still need those supports, even if they further their education into college, so that means college is not off the plate for them. Go for it and use it to their best ability. You can even get accommodations on your job.
Oh, wow.
That is true. That is absolutely true. So, you may want to check into that. But I like the fact that with testing students that do need accommodations, they are given those accommodations, whether it's small group, needing read alouds, needing large print. We do ensure in the school systems, parents, that your child is getting every accommodation that they need for test taking purposes and in the classroom so that they can be successful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for parents and even us as educators to advocate for those kids that we see the need to be there.
And it's not anything that you need to be ashamed of. Like she said, everybody has deficits, and we all need the support. And if you're able to get your child the support, they're young. We're talking elementary and middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can, fill in those gaps, your child can go on and be just as successful as everybody else. So I think that is a very positive thing. But I was thinking about this milestone exam. And when I look at the fact that, this test is going to be taken,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to release these test scores, right?
Yeah.
They're going to crunch the numbers. The data going to be manipulated or not. Backs will be patted, fingers will be pointed.
Yes.
And for a while, we're going to pay attention to these numbers,
Mm-hmm.
while the children these numbers represent are hidden behind the score.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is we have to really, for a moment, focus in what happens day one of next year. So that when we get to this juncture now, we're more prepared. We have these rituals, because I keep saying rituals and routines in place.
Yeah.
So that we can be much more successful than we are right now. So I just think, I think what I'm saying is educators, along with parents, community, let's be the example for education to follow. Since we keep waiting for them to do it and they're not doing it, that's the purpose of Connect Ed. We need to show them how to do this since they can't get it right. Can I get
Oh my
Yes.
God, honey, you just said a mouthful. Before we address that, Charlotte said that another way to prepare for state testing is by taking practice tests. Oh yes,
Yes.
absolutely, Charlotte. I wish you would get your microphone working, honey. You can find practice test materials that are similar on state testing. Hold
the
on,
website.
y'all.
Yeah, you can find you can find some of those practice tests on
Hold
the
on,
state
she wrote it.
educational website.
He wrote it down here.
Okay.
You can find it on state websites. In addition, your child's teacher may also have access to practice tests. Absolutely. She said practice tests help getting you used to answering questions under time conditions. This will also give your child a sense of how much time they need to spend on each question. Oh, I love that. She also said, for example, if the test takes over an hour to complete and your child needs at least an extra 15 minutes per question or task on a time practice test, they should probably budget more time for that section. Okay, and then she's saying another thing practice tests help with is getting them used to the format. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe filling in bubbles on a separate answer sheet or choosing the correct answer with an online test format. And then finally, practice tests also allow students to get comfortable sitting for long periods while answering questions on paper without distractions from classmates talking around them or other disruptions they may experience at school. Absolutely. That's that study. I like that because they do need to have a study space at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know for Georgia Studies, the 8th grade content, there's the GCEE, the Georgia Council on Economic Education. It's an app that students can download on their phones, and it gives them 10 questions at a time. It grades it. It gives them an explanation if they miss it, and you can just take it over and over. And I tell the kids, for every 10 that you take, I'm going to add 2 points to your one of your lowest scores. So they're just taking them over and over and over and over and over again. It's right on their phone. So that's the GCEE, the Georgia Council on Economic Education, and it covers 8th grade Georgia studies.
I love it.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you mentioned 8th grade, Portia, because this year, 8th grade has to take science on the Georgia milestones, and now they're taking both sections back to back. So, before we used to have the test split up, and they would take it daily, one section at a time, but now they're taking 2 sections in one day. So parents, if you have 8th graders, your child really needs to get the rest that we're talking about. And Courtney, if you could read some of those breakfast ideas that Charlotte put in the chat, because I think those are great breakfast ideas. I love me some grits, but
these are some better ideas
in the morning. For testing, them grits and some fish from fried fish or bacon or something.
I know,
might be a little heavy.
Yeah, so these are a lot healthier. And look, I'm taking note. I'm in my head thinking like, how can I make that work for me? So Charlotte shared. First of all, she said the morning meal should be high protein, like we were just talking about, and low sugar. No empty carbs. So some ideas are egg sandwich and an orange. That should be cool and easy. Oatmeal, still along the same lines as grits, but oatmeal cooked with milk and a banana. Very filling. That sounds delicious. An omelet with yogurt mixed with fresh berries. So you do have, that's on the side, right, Charlotte? Okay, yeah. Tropical smoothie and a boiled egg. Yep. And a veggie omelet with fried rice. Those are all really good. That sounds good.
Oh, yes.
I'm looking at Is that Roxanne?
Yes, I'm posting that. We got to talk about that. Go ahead, Portia.
Go ahead, Portia. I want to talk about it too.
Yes.
I was looking at Roxana's. It's some great comments over here. And Roxana said, children are not prepared for the world we are living. Testing and life skills have to be adjusted to present to the world. It's not the 60s.
My goodness. Who about to address that first?
All day. Go ahead, Marie. I need to get my thoughts together to be able to voice them correctly.
Listen, Pastor, you about to make us go off on this live right now because you have just said a mouthful right there. Yes, I absolutely agree with the statement that you are making. We are not preparing our children for the world and their community to go back and live in their communities and be a productive citizen in their communities, and that is an issue. Now, I don't want to go over the deep end because we are talking about testing, and no, testing is not the end all be all, and that's one of the things that we're talking about tonight. And I think Portia kind of hit on it. She just briefly touched it about, we get these scores, we get these numbers, and the kids are tied to these numbers, but a number does not define your child. A number on a test does not define what your child can do. And we have to go beyond what we're seeing on tests and take into other considerations, because we know, as we said at the top of our show, that students have test anxiety, they have stress, they may have worry, they might have, be angry for something that happened that morning during test. Parents, please don't do that. Do not do that during the testing. And so we know that schools are tied to numbers.
Right.
But that does not define who your child is and who your child is going to become. And we do have to do a better job, Pastor, at, helping children with these life skills and learning how to live and having better emotional intelligence to communicate with one another and society at large. Because the way things are going in our schools right now, ain't nobody gonna have no job for no long period of time because they can't manage their emotions. They have no self-regulation.
Correct.
Right.
I was just about to talk about that self-regulation. I've had some conversations, particularly with fourth grade students and their peer, and talking about their peer conflicts. And I have up on my little visual board that's behind my desk that first thing first is respect. We're going to give respect. We're going to honor people's respect. And just and do that for others because that's the right thing to do, and that's what we want for ourselves. But they're really always are in the busy reacting, and I told them that reactions are physical. So a lot of times they think the answer is going to be to push, shove, fight, whatever the case may be, right? But it's a physical reaction, correct? So I
Mhm.
said, but the better thing to do is to respond. And responding is by using our words, it's by communicating, it's by letting the other person know that what they did, how that makes them feel, what it makes you think about, so that they can have that dialogue and then be able to come up with a better result. But it's all about that communication piece. But you were so right, Rosanna, that the life skills um, that we're supposed to cover and teach are not always addressing the world that they're living in right now. So I think that's why I love my job because I'm able
Mhm.
to adapt some to be able to say, hey, I get it. I see where you're coming from. Let's talk about it and approach this in a different way.
Education has not changed in the last 50 years. Like it
It has
has
not.
been practically the same. We're not preparing them at all, and they're quite delusional as to what they're all going to be millionaires, overnight.
I'm gonna be a YouTube star, Portia.
Yeah. Content creator.
Content
And
creator.
Content
I
creator.
wish, and there's so many students that say to me, on a regular basis, they don't want to go to college.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and I wish we would partner with businesses and get internships and allow students to actually go and work to see what this is like, and and to have that experience. And because once we get out, think about us when we first got out in the world and started working. I know it made me go back to school and get additional degrees because I want to work with my mind and not my loins. And
Yeah.
but I just think it needs to be more diversification in education. And it needs to happen much earlier than just when you get to 11th grade or you go to this internship or at Georgia State or on they need to have some jobs that they can actually go to and work and earn. And I know there is one high school that does that, but our kids don't have not a firm grip. They don't have a clue about what's coming. It's all, I don't know, this fabricate something, they fabricated in their minds, and it's not reality at all.
Correct. Charlotte shared that they feel like they can make more money by not going to college, and I agree with what Simone is saying. It goes back to what you just kind of said, Portia. Social media has these kids brainwashed. They think
Oh,
that what they see is quick and easy. Oh, these
mhm.
people, this person, is now making this money because they're doing this, but they don't know that this person has probably been trying to get like this for years, and they don't see that part,
Mm-mm.
right? But I know I've been talking to some of my other colleagues within our school who are talking about how we need to have introduction to trades at an earlier age. Just like you were just saying, we can't necessarily wait until they're in 11th and 12th grade to start showing them and influencing them with different trade skills. Middle school is the time. Give
Middle
them,
school.
show them, give them those kind of classes so that they can see, because college is not made for everyone, and that's okay too. But
Yeah.
they
I
have to be
think
prepared
so.
to do something
Yes.
I
But
to,
even
agree.
to
I
be
agree,
productive
Courtney.
citizens, just like Marie said. So, and right, Charlotte, they're microwave generation, quick fix. Exactly. Exactly.
Roxana said that she has a private school and she works with the schools and they're not preparing the students. The
Mm,
teaching and learning is not rigorous enough. So when it's time to
mhm,
get to the test, the
mhm,
students aren't prepared, which brings up a key point. Schools have to better prepare their teachers.
mhm,
Professional development is key, and teachers have to be open to learning and growing. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Okay. Teachers also have to be open to learning and growing. We don't know it all. We can't do it all. And we always can learn something.
Right.
We always can learn a new skill, a new way of doing things, a better strategy, because that's what the whole thing is. When you're working on a team, you're collaborating and you're bouncing ideas off of one another, so that, when it comes time to giving students test taking strategies, they're better prepared. A lot of our students are ill prepared because they don't know some of the strategies that they can use on tests. And I think I saw someone make a comment about reading. Listen, I know a lot of students that don't like reading, but you can teach them strategies so that they can be successful on a test.
Right. That's another thing we have to continue to let them know, that the strategies that we're showing them are not just for tests. You can use them in various ways, not in your educational experience, but also in life. So it's just important, again, to sell them on these strategies and let them know the why behind it. Something else you all were saying about educators and having them prepared. Let's be real. If an educator is not a lifelong learner, are they really truly here for education of children? Because we have to continue to want to learn and to stay on top of things, because things change all the time.
And parents, that communication with your child is so critical. What do you know what your child wants to do?
Oh,
What are your child's goals and dreams? What do you discuss?
yes.
What?
What's the end game? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I tell the kids all the time when I was working with middle school kids, when we're having a conversation about their futures, I'm saying, and they're shrugging their shoulders like, I don't know, Miss Gaines, I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, so you have us driving on 285 and we're just driving around. And they're looking at me like, what? I'm like, you're in the car, you're driving, because this is your journey. But you have us going around 285 and you don't know where we're going. So we need a destination. Give me something that we can start to say, okay, let's map this out. What does this look like for you?
Right.
Give me an idea.
And it starts right there with you parents. It starts.
So, oh my God.
And we're here to help. We're here to help. And we can do it together. It's a team. We are that
team
component. Yes. Yes.
You
are not alone.
Team. That's the first teacher right there, the parent. Charlotte said something really, 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 really key, that students that need accommodations, that general education teachers need to make sure that those accommodations are in place every day, not just when it's time for the test. And that is so key, because they definitely need to get used to having their accommodations, know what their accommodations are, and hold teachers accountable for implementing their accommodations. We didn't hit on math, and we got a few minutes, and I want to talk about math test taking strategies. And Roxana made a good point that a lot of kids still don't know their timetables. And so it's important, because on Milestones, they have a built-in calculator that you can use. Okay. And so sometimes kids, I think Courtney said this at the top of our show, take time to view all of the tools that you have inside of the testing program, because you have highlighters, you're able to strike things out, you're able to use the calculator, you're able to erase, you're able to go back, you're able to scroll through. But a lot of times kids don't take the time that they need to learn the tools before the test starts. And the calculator, even if you don't know your times tables, you're given a calculator so that you have that available to you.
Yeah.
But the kids also have to know what to put into the calculator and
That's
how to
true.
and what
That's
operations
true.
to use on the calculator. So that's still
That's
very
true.
important. I do want to go to Simone's point real quick. She says not going to school or furthering kids' education could backfire on our community if we get too caught up into the content creation. 20 years from now, they can make having a degree a huge requirement for jobs if less minorities don't have one. What will we do then as a result? That's correct. But what they also don't know, that personally, the content creators I follow on my social media, they do have degrees. That's the piece that some of the kids are missing and not
Right.
understanding, is that or if they're following young content creators, these kids that are out here doing TikTok videos and YouTube, they're just at this phase in their life. This is the phase you see. They
Yeah.
probably will go on to college because they know that they're going to get a job that's going to end up, needing to require it. So I think that we still need to talk to them about, those future plans.
Yeah.
Um, we can tell right off kind of what kids could definitely use a trade and go that route. But even then, there's still additional learning.
Yeah.
I was over at Atlanta Area Tech a few weeks ago, and they're expanding some programs over there. It's becoming phenomenal
Yeah.
programs. So just that exposure and giving them those different experiences can definitely help.
And
But
I think it's key. I'm sorry, go ahead, Portia.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
I
coming.
think it's key, and I think Portia said this. I'm not sure, but starting in middle school. When I was in middle school, we had already things home ec. We had things that students that was already not on the academic track could start doing so that they would be set up to be successful when they went into the working world. Now, of course, the world has changed greatly in the last 40 years, especially when it comes to work and work ethic and all of those things. But one thing is always constant. You're going to need to be able to read, you're going to need to be able to write, and you're going to need to be able to do math. And so if you know the basics, you got to have the basics down. Even if you don't go to college,
Right.
still you need to get your high school diploma.
yes,
You can function in the world. Yes, you can go and get your GED, but get your high school diploma.
yes,
Get your
because
diploma. Learn to read. Learn to write. Don't be so prideful and so arrogant that you are not learning to read and write and do math. Someone in your building is going to be willing to help you if you're willing to
Promise you.
help yourself.
Yes. And listen, that is the purpose. Again, here, that's another key purpose of Connect Ed. We are here to help you. You don't have to feel ashamed. You don't have to, nothing. You can come to us and ask, what do you think? We're going to help you. And period. And that's just how that goes. And there's hope. There's hope. This is the beginning of a long journey. And then later on, if your child decides, I don't like this job thing, I want to go to college. There are institutions now, even Ivy League institutions, that are dropping the SAT
They
requirement.
really are.
yes, they are.
So if we're open to, so much is available to our kids now, online, in person, but it all starts with making a step. It all starts with, reaching out, opening your mouth, saying, I need help. Do that. And I promise you'll get the support that you need from Connect Ed.
Yes.
Amen. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this back out in the atmosphere because Parenting 101 is coming really soon. I'm hoping that we're going to start some classes this summer, getting ready to kick back to school. We're preparing and planning for our community event for when school starts back up. So please be on the lookout for that. If someone would like to read Charlotte's testing strategies right here.
Okay.
She said, cross out answer choices they know for sure are not right and choose the correct answer from the choices that are left. She's also went on to say all children, regardless of the disability, can be less intimidated by a test and do better if you take the time and effort to help them prepare.
That's
Amen.
the
Oh my
biggest
God.
thing.
Yes,
Amen,
yes.
Charlotte. It is all about us helping them prepare. Again, going back to what Marie said, parents are the first teachers. So please, if you don't know or need guidance on how to help your child prepare for tests or be prepared for school, period, reach out to us, let us know, because that is what we're here for. We want to make
Absolutely.
sure that you and your child are successful when it comes to this educational journey and beyond.
Yes, reach out to us and let's put some strategies in place. Let's put some rituals and routines in place going forward so that when the fall comes around, we're going to start off on a high note. Reach out to us.
That sounds like a class right there. Rituals and routines. That's first parenting 101.
What you
Rituals and
say,
routines.
honey? We about to do this. We're
I'm
getting
writing
ready
it
to
down.
do this.
Portia's gonna lead rituals and routines. What they should
Yes.
do. 'Cause now,
Charlotte, do
honestly,
you have any final thoughts? And while she's typing, I'm gonna just go ahead and give my final thoughts. We thank you for bearing with us as Charlotte had to type all her answers in the chat. She wasn't able to get her audio working, but hey, we still made it work. All right. I just want you to know that testing doesn't have to be a burden. You can take testing lightly because you know your child better than anybody else does. And with that being said, you have to affirm. I think I heard Courtney and Portia say this earlier. You have to affirm your children. You have to make sure that they know that it's only a test. This is only a test. It does not define who you are or who you will become. You have many more things that define who you are, and a test is only a snapshot, a very small snapshot of the things that you can do. Okay. Charlotte said, if families, let me go back up here. If families of children with disabilities know what they can do to help their children be better prepared for a test, they can help to decrease test anxiety and improve a child's test performance. Absolutely, Charlotte. When using these tips that we're giving you, we hope that you will share this video so that it can help someone, because our testing starts next week. I don't know about other states. They may be starting later because they start school later. So our testing starts next week. When using these tips and strategies, remember the goal is not perfection. We have already said that, and it's coming up again. The goal is to help your child feel more comfortable taking a test, decreasing test anxiety, building confidence, and improving performance to the extent possible based on your child's ability. Thank you, Charlotte, for that. As always, did anyone else want to say any last thoughts?
I do. Real quick,
Okay.
last thought. Help your child mental rehearse. Like, give them visualization exercise. Have them close their eyes, take deep breaths, have them visualize themselves being very successful and confident while taking the test, and they will do so.
Just be positive and encourage your child each and every day. Make sure they get to bed, take those cell phones, make sure they get a good breakfast, lay those clothes out, and just hold those disagreements or concerns until after the test.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. I'm just going to ditto what all of you said and just keep testing in perspective, right? Keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
As always, we are connected. And we are so happy that you have joined us tonight. Share this video with someone you know needs these tips and tools, and we'll see you next month. Rest assured that the topic is going to be exciting, and just be looking out for our Parenting 101, because we are ready to work with you in a city near you. We're going to be traveling, y'all, from different cities to cities. I've already found how we can do it. So listen, I am excited about what Connected is doing, and we just give God glory and honor, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.